My husband peed the bed and I called him dumb to our child. Now he's refusing to speak to me. I was woken up this morning because the sheets I was lying on were wet and smelled of pee. I assumed our 6-year-old child who occasionally sleeps with us had an accident, but when I checked where the wetness came from, to my surprise, it turned out it wasn't her but my husband that had wet the bed. After I had taken a shower I woke him up and told him he'd wet the bed. At first he denied it, then I guess he realized he indeed had as he got this mortified look on his face, jumped right out of bed and started to try to rip the bedding off. As we have pull-on sheets and our child was sleeping on the other side he didn't get them off. It looked stupid and honestly quite funny so I chuckled. He angrily told me it wasn't funny so I stopped. At that point the only thing his pulling of the sheets had accomplished was to wake up our child, who was confused and asked what was going on. He didn't say anything, just idiotically continued to try to get the sheets off. So when he didn't reply I just told her he'd wet the bed and laughed at him telling our child that daddy can be silly sometimes. At that, he just froze and looked at me with this weird look on his face, almost like he was about to cry or something. Our child asked why he'd wet the bed, and as he still was completely silent, I said that sometimes adults do dumb funny stuff and accidents sometimes happen. Our child then laughed and called him silly. He just stood there staring at me. If looks could unalive I would be dead, and I'm not exaggerating when I say he looked at me with pure hate. I've never been afraid of him, but for a second or two I thought he might lay his hands onto me. Then he just dropped the things he'd managed to get off the bed on the floor, left the room and locked himself in the bathroom for about 45 minutes. When he came out he got dressed in a hurry and just left by saying you can take her to school. He didn't even look at me. His behavior really annoyed me but I just let him be as I didn't want to argue with him when he was in such a bad mood for no reason. When I got home from work he was still sulking and basically ignored me. I was still annoyed with him from the morning so his behavior annoyed me even more. So I told him to get over it, that it wasn't the end of the world that he wet the bed, and to stop taking it out on me. When I said that, he accused me of having humiliated him when I told our child and called him silly and dumb. I found that utterly ridiculous on so many levels, so I angrily told him that he humiliated himself when he effing wet the bed, not me. He didn't take that too well, and said F you and went off to his computer, and now he refuses to talk to me. My husband peed the bed and I called him dumb to our child. Now he's refusing to speak to me. I reread my original post, and there are some things I would like to elaborate on before I come to the update. I did feel empathy and I did care about my husband. I was gentle when I told him after I'd woken him up. However, his reaction caught me off guard, and the time from when he got up from bed until he'd locked himself in the bathroom couldn't have been more than 5 minutes. After that I felt it was best to leave him alone. I know I was an a-hole for telling our child and calling him dumb for it, but I didn't do it to be mean or humiliate him. It was a stupid wrongful decision. I regret it. Further, it's not easy to show someone that you care when you're being ignored. I did text him after he left and asked if he was okay, but he left it on read. I asked him again when I got home but he didn't answer. I asked him if we could talk about it, no answer. I asked him if he could at least tell me why he was so mad at me, no answer. I gave up and went to make dinner. After dinner I asked him if he could stop ignoring me, no answer. I asked him if he wanted me to leave to which he replied, you can stay, I don't care. So I asked him again if he will stop ignoring me if I stay, and when he says no is when I had it. And while I don't think ignoring someone like that is okay, I know I handled it really bad. And I do feel awful for being outright mean to him. Anyway, I texted him early this morning to say that I was so sorry and asked if he was willing to talk after work so that I could apologize. He texted me back okay around noon. We met up at home, and he understandably was cold to me when we met. He didn't say much. I apologized for everything, for laughing, for telling our child, for telling him to get over it, and for the part that I'm most ashamed of that I told him he humiliated himself. He was just silent the whole time and when I was done, he just asked why I told our child. I explained and after that we just sat in silence in what felt like forever. Then right out of nowhere he said, I scared you right? And I told him that briefly he did. He said he could feel that. I asked what made him react so strong, but he didn't know, just said that he panicked when he realized he'd wet the bed, that it got even worse when I told our child, and that he just got so angry with me for it. I apologized again for making him feel that way. He apologized for making me scared. It was a long talk, but in conclusion none of us is happy with how we acted and we have both apologized for it. He wasn't that bugged about me laughing, but we both agreed that I shouldn't have told our child. However, he's no longer mad about it and doesn't think it's that big of a deal. We both think he shouldn't have ignored me like that, and that I handled it poorly and was mean.